I wonder who was it that color-coded and categorized lies. And I wonder what the various codes and the categories mean. And was that the beginning of normalizing lying? This is my take. So don't hate. Thank you, my friend. Let me say a good morning to you and welcome to another episode of My Take on this beautiful Thursday morning, September the 30th, 2021. Man, time is moving right along. You know, as I look back over my short life, there was a time in America when, regardless of your religion or even if you had any religion or not, that it seemed that everybody learned and gave some consideration to the Ten Commandments, or what we call the Ten Commandments. And as you probably know, many of our laws now that we have their roots in the Ten Commandments and in other laws that are listed in the Bible. You know, and even then, if we violated the law or committed a sin, we at least acknowledged that it was wrong. And when we didn't do anything about it right then, if we didn't do anything immediately, we would later try to make it at least halfway right. You know, we tried to make things right if we could. But now, you know, it seems that America back then had a conscience. And in spite of the racism, the crime, and other ills that plagued America, I believe that we were generally good-hearted people, neighborly people, kind people. You know, and now, you know, I'm 72 years of age. And in recent years, I've seen a drift, a falling away from traditional values that really did make America great. And I still believe that we're a great nation, but we have some issues. We've long abandoned the practice of being ashamed of and hiding our sins, our corrupt hearts and minds. We no longer are ashamed of them. We're no longer ashamed of our hatred and our bigotry. And now we wear it as something to be proud of. Or we place all of our ugliness on a pedestal to be seen and applauded by all that witness it. And I believe that we are in a terrible time here in America. Not only a terrible time, and there are many reasons for that, but I believe that we are at a dangerous place right now in our nation, because we have come to the point where we are either in the process of, or I believe to a certain extent, we have normalized lying and hatred. And I want to use those two words together, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I believe that we've come to a very dangerous point in our history because of the fact that we are normalizing lying, and really, in truth, we are normalizing dishonesty. And I think we all will acknowledge that we've been going downhill for a long time, and all of us have our own ideas and opinions about why and who's to blame or whatever. But we've been going downhill for a long time. But in my view, no one has contributed more to that spiritual and moral decline. No one has caused the acceleration of that decay more than Donald Trump. And not only him by himself, but the many followers, primarily Republicans, but not all of them are Republicans. Not all Republicans are on board, who continue his pattern of what I call radical hatred, racism, and division, and his pattern of lying. This pattern has led to and is leading to the normalization of not only lying, but also to hatred that many brandish as their calling card. What we used to be ashamed to say or to do, we say and do proudly now. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have mastered the normalization of lying and hatred, which, if it hasn't yet, is quickly becoming as American as, you know what people say, as apple pie. They pride themselves. When you look around the various politicians, primarily Republicans, but again, not all of them are, and not all Republicans are. but pride themselves on concocting a bigger lie than their co-conspirators and boast about how they're able to get the American people to buy into their lies, to buy into their hatred. You know, we've got to admit that Donald Trump is far from being the first president of the United States to tell a lie or to be caught in a lie. You know, many of us remember Richard Nixon, but again, he's not the only one either. But Donald Trump, he is the far most prolific liar to ever darken the doors of the White House that I'm aware of. All right, and I think that is publicly known. There's no secret about it. There have been some other liars, of course. We don't know how, to what extent they lied, because again, during those times, people at least keep their sins and their wrongdoing and their evil under wraps, so to speak. So we really don't know. We don't know all the history. But Donald Trump, we do know, because he laid it out there for everybody to see. He put it out there, no shame in his game. And in spite of his popularity, we're talking about a man that it seems that he would prefer to tell a lie than to say good morning. It's almost, every time he opens his mouth, he's lying. His lying was and is enabled by fellow Republicans, enabled by the so-called evangelicals of America, preachers, enabled by certain news agencies of America, news agencies, I might add, that have ceased being truthful reporters of news and have now become politically sponsored talk shows. That's really what they are. And they're working to become shapers and makers of news, not reporters of news. As much as I hate to say it, he has been aided by black Republican wannabes who will sell their soul for the sake of power, popularity, and profit, who also promote and support these lies that are born out of hatred and bigotry and partisan politics. Yeah, that's where we are today, America. That's where we're going. But they aren't the only ones. There are certain groups in America that are typically considered to be and are accepted as and labeled as liars. And I don't know which group leads the pack, but the list includes politicians. It's generally thought that, people say it, but it's not all politicians. We say all politicians are liars, but no, not all politicians are liars, no. And of course, on that list are lawyers. And when you look at the list, even on that list, and you're looking at and listening to a preacher right now, on that list are preachers who are considered, these are groups of people that are considered to be and accepted as liars. People who are not to be believed. Thank you. Listen, let me tell you something. Not all politicians are liars. Not all lawyers are liars. And not all preachers are liars. Hallelujah. Okay? But that's kind of the way we have developed as a nation and as a society, those things that we accept and those things, in the way that we consider certain things. And we may not see it on the surface, but we're really, as a nation, we're on the verge of collapse as a nation, because through the normalization of lies and hatred, we have made the bold statement that integrity doesn't matter anymore, that credibility doesn't matter anymore, that character doesn't matter anymore, and that love and values don't matter anymore. And that's, to me, especially ironic, considering that much of the hatred and much of the lying is coming from the same group, the same crowd that is always talking about values and passing themselves off as friends of God. Yeah, and acting like they're the only ones that know God. I told you before, since they appear to be siblings, I have to talk about lying and hatred in the same breath. The normalization of them is like most anything else, like most other things. If enough people do it, and if they do it long enough, and if it consistently goes unchallenged, and when our conscience becomes seared to the point that it no longer bothers us, it can become normal and acceptable, and in many cases, it becomes the preferred way of life, excuse me, and the preferred way of doing business. When we talk about the normalization of something, we're talking about something that is routine, something that becomes routine, something that is acceptable, something that is received by the general population, or at least tolerated by society. And to confuse matters even more, we have a system that allows for, now I'm not saying this is right, this is wrong, I'm not talking about that, but I'm just telling you what it is. Excuse me. We're in a system that allows for a certain amount of lying by a certain, group of people. Well, we accept the lying, and we okay the lying, and we endorse the lying, and that confuses matters even more when we talk about how wrong and how destructive lying can be. We have a system where during the course of an investigation, did you not know that an investigator or a police officer can lie to you, but you and I can be prosecuted for lying to a police officer or lying to an investigator? The police can lie to you and me, but can't lie to his or her superior. We have a system that condemns you and I as being dishonest for lying if we omit a truth on a job application or make a false statement when applying for employment with the government, and I'm okay with that. But at the same time, they would deny us employment, but it's the same system that allows for the top federal employee, the President of the United States, to lie with impunity. Is it because some are telling different kinds of lies that it is becoming so normal? What exactly is the meaning of a white lie, or a black lie, or a little lie, or big lie? What is the color or the size of the lie based on? If it's black, does it make it better or does it make it worse? Does a lie being white or little make it more acceptable or more palatable to our sense of value and character? Huh? Is it really necessary to have so many adjectives to describe the kind of lies we're telling? Does it matter, my friend, whether it's a bold-faced lie, an incredible lie, or a bit of a lie, or a half-truth? I think all of these have contributed to the normalizing of lying. But I think the biggest contributors and the most destructive contributors to lying and hatred and to the normalization of lying and hatred are people like you and me. People who see it, people who hear it, and people who are adversely affected by it, but never say a mumbling word and never lift a finger to change anything. Now that's my take. What do you have to say? Come on, sound off.